And you're going to be staying away from the Wraith King most of the time, and by the time he actually joins, it's going to be into, we assume, a grouped up Execration, so you're not going to get the easy pickoffs with just a Wraith Fire Blast. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to be on cue. He's a very good Mirana player as well, and you've also got at least something that's able to have a little bit of that increased attack speed to deal with the Scarabs that Weaver's going to be launching out as well, which is always quite nice. But you never really want to go against a Bane and a Tidehunter, these heroes that like need to have that amazing setup with the arrow. Because it's not like you've got a Void Spirit or a Storm Spirit. Like, you can root the Weaver, but you need that stun follow-up afterwards, otherwise he's just going to time-lapse it off, right?
Yes. I think this is a DP5. It would be weird if they were laning DP Mirana together, I think. I don't like that so much. I would rather they have something in the off lane that works with Mirana and provides a little bit more damage. Maybe some team fight. Like a Sand King would be great.
Sand King's always great in your books.
Sand King is always fantastic. What a hero.
So I want to ask you a question. So are you saying you want something that's going to really, obviously, make use of that stun in the laning phase and really enable the Mirana and whatever offlaner they pick? Or do you think it might be more beneficial to have something that enables the Mirana to rotate to the Ember Spirit lane? You're up against Alina. You've got a good way to be able to gank her in the early game with just the 1 point in the Searing Chains plus the arrow and ruin what should be Alina favored matchup for Execration. So maybe something like a Timbersaw or something like that might be a little bit more sustainable on its own in the lane.
I would just want to give Mirana options, but I think both of those strats are like perfectly valid. Motivate aren't seeing the carry matchup for their offlaner, so maybe they do just pick something a little bit more generic like Timbersaw. There's always that worry that you pick like Sand King and then Execration just respond with Anti-Mage, and suddenly the game's like kinda hard.
Yeah, and if they do go the Timbersaw, right, it gives them that burst that you were saying is a little bit lacking as well, which is always a big bonus,
right? Be a big fan of that. I mean, it's a little bit scary because Execration's lineup is pretty nice against Timber, the Lina, a lot of magic damage. I think Enfeeble reduces health
again.
Yes,
it does. It's not a ton of burst, though, to be fair, on Execration as well.
It's not like the most. Execration right now, what I do see them having is a lot of minus armor. So Lina is going to hit like a truck this game. It would be kind of nice. I mean, they can kind of do two ways with it. You can either pick another carry that benefits from the minus armor, TA's ban, PA.
Or maybe a Luna
pool
as well?
Yeah, or Luna could work. Or you could even just be like, okay, Lina's going to do all of our physical damage. We'll just pick something that, like, we're missing.
You reckon they're setting up for that Timbersaw just with the Ursa being banned out from Motivate?
Could be.
And it's something also that likes to build into the Diffusal, which is obviously going to be great into the Wraith King as well.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
What do you feel Execration is missing then, if they were to go for the, okay, let's make Lina all of our physical damage?
They have tower, push. They have team fight. They could probably do with a little bit more damage, I would say.
Oh god.
As a player again.
So like, I think the Luna suggestion was really good. I think she provides a lot of it.
And it gives you that split damage as well, so that if you do get timbered, for example, you're not just completely relying on the right clicks coming out from the Lina. And even with how fast Lina's attacking, of course, Luna Blessing, going to be very effective too.
I honestly don't see a better carrier than Luna right now.
I mean, the only other argument might be something else that's going to build into the Diffusal, perhaps.
I mean, PA's fine, I think, still. I like Luna more, but I think PA's fine. I guess they get to respond to Motivate, right? Because they have to show their offlane here. Okay, I think it's like pretty free for both those heroes.
Yeah, I mean, it always sounds so like, ooh, I knew this was coming. But like, I was considering the Night Stalker in the laning phase, but the thing is, you can't really be left alone quite as much as something like the Timbersaw, right?
Actually, you can.
As much.
I know, yeah, obviously not as much, but Night Stalker is surprisingly sturdy and like a surprisingly good laner. You always see like a Night Stalker play into one of these carries and you're like, oh yeah, he shouldn't farm against this. And he comes out like near even with the carry and you're like, how did this happen? How does I don't understand.
This always happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the tried and true thing for people to say on the panel or in the pre-draft is just like, oh, Night Stalker first 5 minutes, it's always, but it's actually, you know, stats are pretty good. You know,
yeah,
it's fairly
especially
durable.
if you go the bracers. I also like usually the support rotations happen at like 5:20 to 5:30 onto mid. Yeah, so that's when Night Stalker gets nighttime, and that's when he's like kind of chilling. And even if they don't want to go mid, I think they should, because you have a spirit and you want to secure runes. But even if you don't want to, you then have kill threat with your Night Stalker, so the Mirana can play on that as what, you know. You don't need a stun necessarily. You can play on the fact that Night Stalker is just more aggressive.
Yeah.
And what this does provide as well is that secondary layer of initiation. Like, it might not be the stun like we see with the Mirage Arena combo, but you're going to have a Night Stalker that's going to be able to go on to most likely the Bane, just because you're playing around a fairly aggressive timing, I would say, and you're not going to have the time-lapse Ags on the Weaver to be able to save. So as long as you just get on top of that Bane, burst him down, then Ember Spirit's able to go on someone else, you're able to connect together with the team, the Searing Chains, you're not going to have the Nightmare save. I feel like it does enable Motivate to go well, but Execration, they picked the Luna. It's a very formidable combo, especially if you're able to take control of that Roche pit and get the first, and more importantly, in my opinion, at least the second Roche, I think, if they can claim that.
Roche fight will be the name of this game, I
Yep.
think.
I look forward to it, but one of these teams is unfortunately going to be relegated to Division 2 as we head on over to GoDz and John, who will be taken away for this game.
It's our last SCA tiebreaker for today. One of these two teams is being eliminated, or relegated, down to Division 2. Execration versus Motivate.Trust. Both teams losing to OB Neon, John. And we're going to see who's the better of these two teams, at least in a best-of-1 scenario. It's do or die. Both these teams going to stay in Division 1. And, well, what are you making of these drafts, first and foremost?
I think it's rather interesting. Motivate.Trust go back to the Raid King for Jack Boys, tried and tested hero for them. You know, they managed to get that big win condition themselves. They go with a Masa Night Stalker off, which, as mentioned by the panel, is a little bit more durable in the early game, but it is something that the Luna can manage in this lane matchup fairly well. So I think you do have some ways of mitigating that impact Masa might have early on, and there are good win conditions here for Execration. They've somewhat got the hold to keep Gotcha Boy Slippery Ember down with the Bane, at least with the Nightmare and Grip. The Grip being the much easier one to pull off with a cast point. That will take levels for the Bane. You're gonna need an Aether Lens as well to really reach that range that you want. Maybe even a quick keen optic if you can find one. And for Motivate.Trust, it just feels like a run-and-gun draft from them. It's something they always used to run. Raid King with support DP. Their smoke is broken by Carlo, so the rotations aren't going to be coming out. Both sides dropping their obs in the same spot. So we'll see if Carlo can maybe come in later on to get the D-Ward. Already has the Sentry on hand, but I think both teams have well-tied in drafts. They have ways to counteract each other. I just maybe feel a little bit more confident about what Motivate.Trust have. Simply because they've got the Raid King, they've got the Ember that Gotcha Boy usually performs fairly well on, although we haven't seen it too often nowadays. But these are strong comfort picks for Motivate.Trust to go back into and, you know, kind of play their own game on.
Yeah, and when you're in this kind of must-win situation, it always got to feel a little bit better playing some of those comfort heroes, which maybe isn't not the case with Execration. They're very meta with their picks, and, you know, for a lot of their players, like Bob playing Lena, I think Nanda playing Luna, like these aren't like definitely not out of meta heroes, and not necessarily uncomfortable heroes at the same time, but we've definitely seen, I feel like, Execration just as a team play maybe look a little bit shakier at times. Even though Motivate.Trust have lost, 5 series now in a row, generally they've been losing to these top teams, and they've even had some close games here and there.
Yeah, it just feels like, as a whole, I mean, you have to consider the fact that Motivate.Trust has also been sticking together as a team for a lot longer than Execration. You mentioned this earlier on in the earlier best of one, Parker, where they had to get in Kimizu last second because their player that they were supposed to sign was caught up in that initial start of the DPC with the issues we had with a certain org. So I think, you know, it's just hard to pin that all onto Kimizu, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like they've managed to make use of him really well. And I think that's also one failing point for Execration right now. They've got to see how much more Kimizu can bring out. Can he bring that performance to hold Execration in Div 1, or will this do or die situation just be too much pressure for him to ride off of?
Yep. And we saw it with OB Neon. I think they understand that Kimizu, as the new young player who hasn't played DPC before, hasn't played really many big LAN events, or just big even tournaments in general. They focused him a lot. They were tipping him. They were really just trying to hunt him and kill him wherever possible. And we see even the same here, like right off the bat from the laning stage, Jackie's throwing stuns, they're throwing spirit siphons at Kimizu. They're understanding that this is a player that sometimes can crack under pressure just because of that lack of experience. So they are going to make him a target.
Yeah, just try to kind of take that momentum off. And with Kimizu's hero pool as well, they tend to give him these big playmakers. You know, Tide, they used to give him Centaur as well, stuff that needs to initiate, set the tempo for the team. And when that hero gets thrown off, it feels like it can't do that for you. So it's kind of sitting for dead weight until it does get that initial farm up. And I think that's the right mindset for these teams playing against Execration. Just throw them off their tempo by taking off that tool in the off lane, gearing for it. We'll see if Jackboys can maintain it, but so far his lane is looking pretty good. 9-0. Not much Kimizu can do to stop that. Not even Carlo can do much to stop it as well, and that should lead to a fairly good start here for a Raid King.
Some of our other lanes down bottom, you've got the Night Stalker Mirana. Not able to really do too much to stop Nando from farming early on. Q's just throwing arrows from the trees, doing a good job giving solo experience to Night Stalker. So level 3 Night Stalker, level 1 Mirana. And that's one of the things that brings the Mirana often, is that you can just kind of sit in the jungle, offer that threat of an arrow. And the fact that Masa can do this well, I mean, he's not getting that much CS, but get solo XP is going to help him a lot when that first nighttime arrives.
And that's the one big timing that the panel was really pointing out. That first nighttime should also line up with Q's first rotation to maybe look for an early play with early Searing Chains for arrow combo, pinning down that lane in mid, and giving this kind of good start for Masa kind of enables that. As you mentioned, you aren't really slowing down Nando, but you don't really expect the Night Stalker to apply that much laning pressure. You really just want to sustain, play a bit greedy, play a bit slower, just hit that first nighttime, get the levels you need, get that initial farm, start running from there. So we'll see if they can actually zone out Masa, but just from this lane, he's actually giving it onto Nando, even under that tier 1 tower. Already down to less than half HP. He's going to need a salve to really keep up that momentum, and you have this big level spike for Masa. Level 4. Just all the XP you could ask for in such a sacrificial Mirana play here from Q.
As low health as Nando was on Luna, the arrows flying in. Oh wow, first blood mid, Bob with the solo kill and Gaucho. Nice stop for him. But yeah, they were throwing arrows at Nando, not even looking to hit him. Even when he was on like 150 health, they were throwing it at the range creep just to keep getting farm and levels for Masa with the solo XP. He's got Bracer up already. He's being chased through the trees here. Level 3 Bane and Luna, so they've got some decent damage with the level 2 Lucent Beam, and they feel like they can maybe get this kill. They throw out the Nightmare to get some right clicks in, and there will be another Lucent Beam in a couple of seconds here. Q may have to help out. Hits the arrow onto Nando. Lucent Beam is just maybe out of range, so he can't go for it. They get Night Stalker back to safety.
It's still a really big kill to sacrifice, though. You lose Gotcha Boy mid, who in the early part of that laning phase was finding a lot more CS. Now it evens out. You get the XP advantage for Bob. He's at 5.5, about to hit 6. The threat of Laguna will be up, and Gotcha Boy's nowhere near his escape tool with the Fire Remnant up. And you will still get that 5-minute, 6-minute mark where Q can rotate with First Night, leave the Night Stalker alone, look for the arrow opportunity, but with Bob, again, with that slight EXP advantage, it's going to be trickier for Gotcha Boy to go forward, to get that spell off, to get the damage off, to get the setup because of the threat of Laguna. Like, just that nuke damage alone is going to be a huge threat to Gotcha Boy, and he's got to watch himself. Like, with the Ember from Gotcha Boy, we tend to see him like go for the faster build-up phase with sort of Corrosion as is usual, then either the Eul's or Maelstrom, depending on the game, but that initial farm timing has to come through, and Gotcha Boy's pretty far out from any of those.
Yeah, full level behind this mid lane. Not quite the start he was hoping for, but we'll see if he can get that level 6 up. I hear that, you know, Ember with the max flame guard can always farm the jungle and get some kind of catch up there, but may just come down to some of these other side lanes doing better to make up for his poor start in his lane. Up top, this is the one lane that seems to be going the best is Motivate.Trust on the Wraith King, getting some solid farm, at least early on, and keeping Kimizu away from the lane as best they can. But overall, it is, you know, a laning stage that has gone Execration's way. It's a 1k gold lead early on, and they're looking for more. They've got the Nightmare. They found them around in the trees here, throwing out the Laguna Blade. Bob gets a kill onto Q, a second kill for the mid laner.
They managed to get a good read on that movement out from Q. They had a really good ward planted earlier on to spot that. And nice cutting off that path of Mirana who'd want to get that mid-rotation out at around this time. Because this is the time where you camp the power runes, you see what comes in, and you try to help your mid bottle up and get running from there. So at the least, you don't lose out on your Ember. The Mirana does get sacrificed instead. But that is still giving Execration a bit of a stronger start than you'd want them to on the side of Motivate.Trust. Like, this is a lineup that can get off to a really quick running start. They've got Luna who can flash farm once more. You know, the Mastiff Madness is going to be coming out from Nando. They can start building up some stacks in the jungle, buy some space for the Lunas to farm up. There's no forward vision for Motivate.Trust to keep check of the jungle just yet. And that's going to be a big opening for Execration if they can start to enable that Luna to really just soak what it wants. Like, even in this solo lane as well, sure, Moss is getting solo EXP, some solo farm, but the Luna's still working that lane a lot better. All the cores of Execration are actually off to a really good start. So their initial items are going to be coming in. They're going to be hitting some of those level 6s faster. Tide 6 is going to be big. Your support levels are also really key. Vincenzo with a grip once more to keep Gotcha Boy down is going to be huge. And if that room opens itself up, Motivate.Trust will have to watch those timers as well, because their own engage, it's not the most synced up, right? Like, you've got chains into arrow, or maybe even just rate fire blast into arrow, but it's not the most steady combination. They also kind of lack AoE control outside of the crippling fear. And this is, a bit worrying.
Bad sign. You know, we're already 5.5 minutes in and can't reconnect. Hopefully that's like he can't reconnect right now, but he can, like, a minute or two from now. Not like he can't reconnect for good. We'll see what's going on here as Motivate.Trust try to get their 5th player back into the game. As we've mentioned, this is the big match. So,
Oh boy.
what should we do? Okay, all right.
Oh,
This
boy.
is well, good luck, admins. It's your time to shine.
We've got Dougie on the case. It's
Yeah.
fine. Admin Dougie's there. I'm sure Nino's also hustling his ear. So all our top admins on. Maybe it is a bug. Well, we do have a Weaver here. There is a bug. I don't know if that is the bug. That could be the cause of the bug.
All right. Well, we'll keep ourselves paused for now. I imagine this could become an extended pause if this is going to be an issue where he can't.
Oh, this is... Yeah, no, like... Master was asking for if we can reset the game, give Lena 2 kills.
Yeah,
He knows that's a bit of a...
that's the old
that's a
like
bit of a, yeah.
the Dota 1 rules,
Yep.
That's
like,
like the old
alright,
school.
just
They're
redo.
smiling about that. Look, whether it's 5 minutes in the game or even like 30 seconds in the game, restarts and regames when you have started the lanes, they never feel good. Like, I feel like
No.
anytime you're gonna restart a game, you should just do a redraft. That's my personal opinion. Whatever the rules are is what should be followed. But like in general, like as a Dota player, it just feels like every tiny minute thing has such an impact on how the lane goes. Like where wards are placed. Like, are they gonna place the same wards and deward them the same way? Like all these things have an impact on how the early game goes and how the entire game goes. So to me, anytime you're doing a restart, it always just makes the most sense, and it feels nicest if you can just do a totally new drafts. But we'll see what happens with the rules. I mean, these are the kind of situations that are so hard to kind of prepare for, and unfortunately, sometimes these things happen. I don't know. No reconnect button. That sounds very unfortunate.
Yeah. It's hopefully it gets sorted. Does give us some time to relax here, as we do know Southeast Asia Park, we love our pauses, so get to chill out a bit, get to have a conversation. We were having a bit of a chat about food a while ago, Parker, and I was quizzing you on what you enjoy. Like, yeah, so in Southeast Asia we do have that tradition of merienda. I'm curious, do you have something in the afternoon? Do you have your own merienda of choice there, Parker?
I like to drink a lot of tea, which is that the equivalent of the merienda to some extent?
To an
I don't know.
extent, sure. Like tea with maybe, I think in Singapore, what they do in Singapore is they call it high tea. That's what you get offered in like
Yes.
hotels for like a buffet, a merienda
Tea and
buffet.
scones and some little sound. I've had high tea in Singapore actually. So, I don't know. I think we're much more like we're brutes over here. Like in the Western world, we just drink our soda and have a bag of chips. Like that's our merienda, or go get a burger or something.
All right.
But,
this is something. We are just going on 4v5. Motivate.Trust. This is not the game you'd want to go that way, but they'll have to make do. So the go-ahead's given by Masa, the go-ahead's given by Vincenzo. The game will roll on 4v5.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
I
is-
guess if there's any hero to lose, the Mirana, at least it's not a big core. right? You're only losing your
Yes.
support, but I say only losing your support. It feels like Q does a lot in that Mirana, so this game's gotten a lot tougher for Motivate.Trust, Parker.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I'm right. As you were saying, one of the better heroes to perhaps lose. Execration, they've got to be feeling like, okay, it would look pretty bad and embarrassing to lose 5 versus 4. So let's, make sure we get the job done. Play this one safe because they've got the good start out of the lanes, and we'll see if they can kind of continue on with this start of theirs.
Yeah. Just need to find a way to get that momentum. Now you're lacking that arrow play onto the mid with the chains. I think that's a big combination that the panel was pointing out that I think they'd love to play with on Motivate.Trust. They do manage to kill off Masa while he's left alone bot as well. Level 6 reached up by Nando. Tip comes out onto Masa. I mean, he's fallen behind now in EXP somehow as well. Like, without the hour to sustain, to keep getting that range creep. He's at 5 from that kill. Nando hit 6. And you can reach that point where the Luna just starts flash farming with a quick Mask of Madness. I can expect this Luna now to just take control once that's up. And there's not many options for Motivate.Trust. Because on Q, it feels like he'd be the hero scouting out the triangle. He'd be the one getting that info out, jumping around. They are trying to micro that Mirana, working through the jungle, but it's going to take a lot to micro that to the same effect of having an extra player.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, because this is not a pub game, it's a private lobby, abandons don't exist, so they don't actually get the gold from Mirana.
No.
So
God, they don't
in
get
a
the
pub
passive
game, you
income.
farm with that DC hero, the gold gets split between the other 4 teammates. So any gold Mirana makes is just lost to the ether, unless Mirana can somehow reconnect. But that seems unlikely. It may have been an issue where he accidentally, you accidentally clicked the leave game abandon button or something. Not sure exactly what
Dire's
happened.
middle tower is under attack.
Whatever it is, it's obviously very unfortunate that the rules do need to be followed here as Motivate.Trust is trying to make some kind of a play happen. They're using this Mirana, but the micro, well, unfortunately, it's a little bit harder for Motivate.Trust when you use 2 heroes. They bring in Boombell, though. They get the first kill. They're looking for more. They want Bob, and with the Flame Guard and now the Fire running it forward, he gets Bob low. The nice Crypt Swarm and as well as another Spirit Siphon. They've got this kill, and Carlos got no Shikuchi for a second. One more right click. He gets the miss on the high ground. Oh, wouldn't have been enough damage anyways with the stick charges. It was close to getting another kill, but they killed Lena. That's a big one for Motivate.Trust. They're not out of this one just yet.
No, they managed to make that work. They're using the Mirana to great effect. Look at this. TPing in for the bottle refill. Managed to make that work. They do manage to catch out Masa, though.
Yeah, he was going for the kill on Nando, but Nando healed himself back up with a salve just in time for the Bane rotation. They're going to tip Masa again. It's so tough for him to play without a 4 position, and unfortunately for his game, this is meaning Luna is just getting absolute free farm and is going to have stacks being made in the jungle as well. So it's doubly bad when you consider that Luna's free farming the lane, and then also will be able to go back to the jungle and free farm there as well.
Yeah, it's going to be big. Gotcha Boy at least checks out the triangle a bit. He does spot out a little bit of that stack, so he knows something's up. Good snipe from Carlo onto the Courier, though, taking out the stick and the casual Orb Destruction. So no minus armor coming in with phase boots. That's such a big part of the damage as well on this Ember, although he has opted to prioritize Searing Chains. Execration now, again, just going for these aggressive plays. They've smoked up as 2. Carlo, Bob looking up top, wanted to take out Jack Boys. Does not have Reincarnation leveled yet, but he has the skill point for it.
Up lane, Jackie in some trouble. They've rotated up to gank the Wraith King. They kill him once. They're looking for that second. The Ravage is there on a Boombell, but he's level 6, so Exorcism means Execration are being chased down here. Kamizu with the Kraken trying to stay alive, but the LSA is not going to land on Boombell. This Death Prophet saying, well, we've got no Mirana. I guess I get to be a core now, perhaps. Boombell realizing he needs to come up and have a big game. Helps turn this around. The Wraith King does lose his Reincarnation, but they're not done just yet. Ember Spirit in some trouble, gets nightmared up, wanted that regen room, but won't get a chance to get there, and without health, without mana. Gotta imagine Gotcha Boy might be getting chased down, going for the Roshan deny. He gets the deny, and Boombell gets another kill onto Carlo. Nice little play at the end there for Gotcha Boy.
Yeah, they're making it work in some ways for Motivate.Trust. They're getting a lot of utility out from Boomboy. They're forcing a lot of movement out from Execration, who might be feeling really confident playing a 4v5, but they're dropping here as they shouldn't be. Bob dropping that 1 death on mid, finding those kills up top, and forcing out the Ravage use onto Kimizu. This is also space Execration's using well for their Luna. Nando has opted for the Dragonlance instead, so we're not seeing that insane flash farm onto stacks yet. It's still a steady build-up for Luna to try and catch up to number 1. Jackboys is still holding that spot right now, just making great use of his own skeletons from the Vampiric Spirit. So, Motivate.Trust, despite playing 4v5, do have ways of making this work. They're actually using Q really well. Like, he's still getting passive EXP hanging around in lane. They will still have utility with Moonlight Shadow. I think lining up for a Chain's Arrow is going to be a bit tough, but as long as someone's kind of holding that Mirana close to the Ember, if they see the opportunity, that can still come out. So it looks like Motivate.Trust really are actually just doing their best to hold on. This isn't an elimination game, or a relegation game. So they've got to bring their A game, and they have been holding on. 2k lead for Execration, though. Top tower already gone. Kimizu having that timing on the Hood of Defiance is going to be a lot harder to burst down, especially for the Ember. But Motivate.Trust are looking for their own rotation bot. No one's hanging around there, though. So they might have to settle with a push or a different angle elsewhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't that hero down in the bottom lane, but they come back mid, find the Bane. Just the 5-position kill if they can get it, which they'll use a lot of these Fire Remnants. Gotcha Boy, he's going to be careful. He's got no Sleight of Fist, but with the Haste Rune, he gets himself back to safety as Boombell and Q make the move. It's Boombell who seems to have been microing the Mirana. Wherever Boombell goes, the Mirana is there with him. But the big issue is this Luna has just been free farming those jungle stacks while all of this is going on. So Nando taking advantage of all this space to get his farm on.
And that's a lot of gold flowing onto his way. Going to really accelerate that timing into his Manta style. Once that's up and running again, just keeping anyone pinned down with the control you have here on Motivate.Trust is going to be hard. There's a lot of pressure on Masa to maybe just work for a fast Blink BKB to be on top of that Luna, on top of the Lina and Weaver, just prevent them from getting any of their spells off. They have managed to surround Jackboys here. They know he's farming up top, but haven't really made a move there. They want that mid-tier 1 instead.
Prioritizing the map control. And Jackboys, his reincarnation has come back up, so he's not really the best of targets here. Rushing that Blink Dagger, so perhaps realizing they need to play a faster paced game. Down bottom, they've isolated the Weaver. Mega kill for Boombell. At this point, Boombell just has to channel his inner like mid-player / carry, because without a Mirana, he needs to continue to dominate, and he has an Ogre Club. He needs to be rushing like a BKB or something, because his Exorcism is proven to be quite the force in this early game.
Yeah, it's giving a lot out for Motivate.Trust, just turning these team fights when they find them, allowing them to siege, allowing to get them some momentum on Motivate.Trust's side. And they're keeping the game sort of in check. 5-6, you do have an objective advantage here on the side of Execration with a mid-tier 1 gone. They have been able to work the map a lot more efficiently as 5 heroes as well. And we still have to note that Nando has managed to overtake Jackboys and farm, as you'd expect the Loons to do so. Jackboys can still keep up, once again playing with the Vampiric Spirit Skeletons. But he's going to need a lot more items to be up to really carry through here. Arrow does miss from our disconnected Q. Good attempt, but yeah, only so much you can do while juggling multiple heroes.
Yeah.
The Desolator timing is going to be big for Jackboys. That allowed him to rip through, but it does feel like he's going to need a BKB or some protection at the very least to handle it. And for Execration, as long as Vincenzo's positioning is right in that Bane, something like a BKB won't really stop them, as they will go for a smoke play.
Luna almost solo killed the Night Stalker top with an Eclipse, but gets away. We'll see if this smoke play can connect. Luna, of course, one of those heroes that does match up well against the Night Stalker, because she herself can also take advantage of the nighttime for some vision. And doesn't look like this smoke is going to initially connect anyone, but they are going to go into that enemy high ground, invade the jungle with the Tidehunter in the front. He's got a Ravage here. It's going to be Boombell they find first. Q as well on that Mirana. Gets caught out by the Fiend Script, and now Boombell in some trouble as well. But the Ember Spirit shows up to the party. Nice silence coming out of the Tide, preventing any kind of a Ravage. But Death Prophet going to die, and now the Nightmare and the LSA onto the Ember. Ravage to follow up, catches the Night Stalker as well on the side. So it's going to be 3 dead to start this off. Not sure they can keep up with the Night Stalker, who's got a pig pole as well for some extra movement speed. But Jackie on the Wraith King is showing up. Can't keep Carlo disabled, though, to bring down the Weaver. There's a lot of farm on this Wraith King, but the concern is that they just can't be everywhere. And with this disconnected Mirana, it's just so tough for them to make these moves that they want to make.
At the least, they managed to get level 6 up and running on our disconnected Mirana Q. So they do have Moonlight Shadow to play with. That could allow them to find an angle, find a gap. But you look at the sentries from Execration. There are 1 million sentries on the map already. 2 up top, 2 in the triangle. They've got an Obs Ward watching the lane for that sort of movement as well. So for Motivate.Trust to play sneaky here as 5 is also a very hard thing to pull off. You do have that Desolator in Jack Boys. He is doing a lot of damage. He would love to take a fight and go into a Roche. They've got to find a way to make these bigger 4v5 team fights work. They're really starved out in Gotcha Boy as well. They'll go for the mid, but it is going to be protected here.
Jackie, one of those really farmed heroes, coming in with the Exorcism as well. So they're forcing the issue in this mid lane. Utilizing the Mirana to just sit behind them, trying to land an arrow or something. That's kind of, it's one of the better heroes to have disconnect permanently, because all you've got to do is use the Moonlight Shadow every now and then and try and hit an arrow off of the Searing Chains. We'll see if they can get that combo. Arrow's just fishing, going flying, hunting, actually catches out Bob. Do they go for this kill? Nightmare trying to block some damage here as Night Stalker gonna pop the ultimate, running in with the Dark Ascension. Bob very low, is getting helped out with the urn for some heals. And Carlo on that Weaver, trying to cover the retreat as Motivate.Trust are going to back off. So Dark Ascension do a whole lot. And for Motivate.Trust, they get the team on mid tower, so they're probably happy if they can just kind of disengage and not take any casualties here.
Managed to get some good shoving out from our Luna as well. Masa kind of staying forward here.
Yeah, has to be a little careful. Still has that Ascension to give him flying over the trees. That free pathing helping bail him out. And with the Moonlight Shadow, they get back to safety, invis. But all of Execration, other than Bob, up in this top lane. And Bob's got the boots of travel. Nando's wondering, does he go back to farming Ancients? Are they trying to make a play up here? They know several ultimates are on cooldown. And it does seem like they want to pressure and go for this tier 2 top tower.
Now I love what they're doing with our Mirana. They just use her as a ward when the Moonlight Shadow is up. Stand back, give some vision where you can. They will have to back off. They're surrendering their tier 2 top. So another big win coming out from Execration. They'll be able to take the outpost. This opens up the Roshan as well. Motivate.Trust are going to have to find a way to contest there. It's going to be a tough fight with Ravage potentially coming in. The Grip as well to work through. With the Eclipse in such a tight spot, it's going to be a lot of damage coming out in that huge AoE control, and Motivate.Trust again just doesn't have anything to combat that. No BKB yet in Masa, no blink up yet on that Night Stalker, so no easy ways to be on top, to get the silence. Your combination with Searing Chains Arrow is doubly hard to do with a disconnected Mirana. You can rely on Boomboy to just run in, throw his body forward with the Exo, and his BKB is somewhat on the way, like 1,000 gold off. Not too bad considering that was supposed to be a pause 5 VP, but that has to be online first. Like some of these initial BKBs have got to get going. They scan the Roche, but it falls pretty fast here, Parker.
Yeah, they don't have the Dark Ascension or the Moonlight Shadow. They need to get there, and it's already gone down. The minus armor from the bugs as well as the Gush just allowing Luna to take it so damn fast, and that is a big problem for Motivate.Trust. They're already on the back foot. They're playing 4v5, unfortunately, because of a disconnected Mirana who can't reconnect into the game, and as a result, the pressure is all on them. They're trying to just sit back and play this more, you know, kind of passive game at the same time. Like, they've farmed up pretty well on several of these heroes. They've got the blink on Wraith King. Like, this Wraith King is keeping up with the Luna. Jackie, it's his signature hero for a reason, and we're going to see if he can make magic happen to turn around this game.
He's well on his way to his own BKB. Once you have that, again, there's a lot of pressure on Vincenzo to kind of find a good grip target. Now how he uses that is going to determine how these fights go with that BKB flying out, with the BKBs coming through. They can still keep applying pressure, though. I think Execration, they've just taken control of the bot jungle. They've got good forward wards. They've found themselves in a good position. Arrow.
Tide takes one for the team. Get down, Mr. President, says Tide. I've got you. Nicely done by Kamizu to blink in front of that arrow that was flying in. They did have the Nightmare save as well, so I think Bob was probably fine either way, but just doing all the little things. Knowing that he's a Tide, he can take it, you know, a max duration arrow because they can't really follow it up since he can always crack it off any follow-up damage or stuns.
And that is kind of stalling some time out for Motivate.Trust, though. Like, while all of that focuses on mid, Jack Boys has continued to play bot lane, keep that shoved in with the skeletons, looking for his own build-up, his own farm. I mean, as a hero, I guess the Wraith King, if it does get hyper-farmed, it can kind of be your big win condition. You know, it's very hard to kill off. You can go for the Ag Split to sustain your entire team way down the line as well, kind of making these fights hard for Execration as it drags on. They will still keep their eyes on the objectives, though. They know they've got the advantage. They know they've got really good push for this time on Nando. Another tier 2 falls without the defense from Motivate.Trust. And the map is just shrinking here for the Dire side. They they haven't been able to do much outside of their part of the map. They've been playing bot. They've been playing a bit more passive. The build-up is there, Parker, but I just worry about how it comes down to execution, because again, there's a lot of pressure in Masa just to get that crippling fear off, and he's still a ways off from BKB and still a mile off from that blink to really jump on top of these key heroes.
Yep. Well, we'll see if he can get up to some of these key items. Getting a BKB blink on Night Stalker would be huge for them, but the issue is, like, yeah, all of Execration feels like are going to have, like, the BKBs on the heroes they need. Lina, as well as Luna, hasn't even felt like she needs one yet. Just going for the Skadi, having the protection of the Aegis, and also just these defensive heroes behind her, like the Bane with the Nightmare save. So Luna's game is looking really good when you can get away with not even having to go BKB. So the tough times will continue, but they've managed to maintain, like, this kind of, you know, they're down 5k gold, but it's not increasing as far as the difference between these two teams go. That's perhaps the one kind of small consolation prize.
Yeah, I mean, overall, if you actually look at the farm, a big part of that difference is mainly that you have a 1k net worth Mirana, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's about 2k difference with Mirana and the Bane, so that's like a 2k differential on that graph on the bar up top. That's really just from Mirana disconnecting. They do manage to catch a big hero, though. Gotcha, boy.
Oh, yeah. Fiend's Grip is there and everything. Kamizu going to Ravage. No, I guess he was worried about someone coming in to cancel the Fiend's Grip because he overlapped his Ravage with the Fiend's Grip. But again, when you're in Execration shoes, playing it safe to, like, kill a core, overusing spells, like, you're in that 5v4 position is totally okay. You know, it's unfortunate for Motivate.Trust playing 4 versus 5. Totally. Obviously, I imagine some people, viewers tuning in, are, you know, feeling like it's a bit, you know, unfair or sad for Motivate.Trust. But the reality is, like, when you're in this, like, 4v5 disconnected player, you know, you have to enforce these rules. And of course, you know, the disconnect could be for anything, but for Motivate.Trust, it means 4v5. It's tough, but it's the only way to move forward.
Yep. They've got to deal with it, and again, everything on the line. They have been trying to make this work. Again, considering the circumstances, I think they have used Q in fairly good effect. And despite the Mirana not having a player, they've still managed to get some utility out. But the map is shrinking. 9-6, 9k net worth lead coming out from Execration. 2k of that is because of the Mirana, but a 7k lead even then is also significant enough at this point that Nando's sitting really happy. You hit that item spike on Motivate.Trust, BKB's up. We'll go for a smoke play outside, trying to catch someone off.
Yep. Kamizu could be the one they run into, and that's not really the best target, but a better target is this Lina, who gets forced to BKB. Mirana now on the run with the leaps. Gotchboy in the front lines on the Ember has a BKB now, so he can actually go and look to make some plays. Once it's Lina on the back lines, have they got any follow-up? But Lina just going to turn and right-click Gotchaboy. Gotchaboy, he tries to run away, but the Lina right-clicks follow him, and uh-oh. Motivate.Trust, they're dropping like flies one by one. Boombo with the Exorcism, and the Spirit Siphons can't heal himself back up. It's just Masa chasing down Bob. The LSA will be off the mark. Nicely dodged by Masa, but it's been a 3-for-1 so far. They did kill the Luna, though. There's still some hope for them as Jack Boys finds a haste rune, gets away from Bob. Will he look to re-engage? Without a reincarnation, you've got to imagine he won't do so, but it's a 1-for-3 going the way of Execration.
On the side of Motivate, at least they find something. They found the Luna right after her Aegis expired, just like a few seconds afterwards, so good timing on that movement out. But how do you deal with the rest of Execration now? They can't really jump in. It's so hard to execute with that numbers disadvantage. Bob, he's got the full Silver Edge now, so he is going to be laying on the hurt when these fights break out. Gotcha Boy's trying his best, jumping in, weaving in and out of these fights, finding the back line. But all of that control coming through from Execration and just knowing that they've got the numbers to deal with him makes the angles very hard. Like, I think he managed to get that chains off onto Bob. They were trying to position the Mirana for an arrow. They couldn't find the opening, and Q's body just dies. It dies again.
Yep, they really want to utilize this Mirana as best as possible, but unable to do so. Mirana gets found and picked off there in the top lane. Well, let's see what's next here. 10k gold lead now for Execration, who may just be waiting out that next Roshan, respawning sometime a minute from now to 4 minutes from now. Gotcha Boy at top will remnant away. Rotation was coming for him. Knowing that he's got to be a little bit careful, but Bob with the backup is trying to actually poke at this high ground. They keep the siege wagon alive, and they're going to force Motivate.Trust to make a play to defend their base. Jackie's not here. He's got no TP for 3 seconds, so there's a bit of a window here. The arrow going to follow up the Searing Chains onto the Luna. That's just delaying this push, and now with the Rex vulnerable to a Luna, these glaives are going to start bouncing around, and Motivate.Trust, they glyph this, but they may just be watching these Rex go down if they're not careful. Jackie's got a BKB on his Wraith King. Just the level 2 ultimate, but he goes charging in. Wants to catch this Lina, but the Nightmare is there for some defensive plays. The chase is on. They want Bob. There's the Fiend's Grip coming onto the Night Stalker, but Vincenzo suddenly finds himself being the new target as Exorcism comes out from Boombell. They're chasing. They want to get maybe Kamizu's Tidehunter here. Has got a Ravage. Does he want to turn and throw this one? He's going to be cracking off some of these stuns here. Right now, it looks like Kamizu just accepts his fate. Doesn't want to waste the Ravage cooldown, so Motivate.Trust with a really good high ground defense. They're not done. They found Nando. They catch him out on the TP. Without the BKB, Nando is just vulnerable and thinking he can TP out in front of that Wraith King. Really well done. And using that Q Mirana. Yes, let's go Mirana. Defending the melee Rex up top.
Yeah, they're doing it somehow. I mean, they still lose a tier 3, they lose a range Rex, but they turn the fight, they find some key kills. Execration was a bit more split up, and we're starting to see the effects of Motivate.Trust having these angles with the BKBs. They can jump in, they force Vincenzo to make a choice. Who are you really going to grip? Are you in a good position for that grip? Vincenzo does have the Aether Lens to kind of help in that case, and also the Keen Optic, but you've got a lot of mobility here. Masato, playing forward in the top lane, gets punished with that Shadow Blade from Bob with a DD on top. So it's not all doom and gloom for Execration. They find something in exchange. They've still got the advantage. And Roche isn't too far off. 1.5 minutes. Sure, that could give Motivate.Trust some time to build up. Jackboys is still somehow #1 in net worth. Despite playing a man short, they have managed to work this Wraith King up to the point where it is getting really, really obnoxious to fight against. AC is not too far off for Jackboys. Still a lot of farm to do for that. But once you have all of that minus armor up, you can just look to chip away at the softer backline. Take care of Vincenzo, take care of Carlo, and the fight just opens up. Once you take care of those two supports, it feels a lot more even for Motivate.Trust with a man down constantly. So I think that's the key for them. Jump the backline, simplify these fights, bring the numbers even, and kind of try to work it from there.
Well, we'll see if they can keep doing that. Ember has the money for an Aghanim Scepter, so as far as jumping the backlines, Ember is one of the best ways to go about it. And he actually took that bottom tier 2 tower, so we'll see if Execration can make this push work in the top lane. They're not waiting for Roshan to get that second Aegis. They are trying to just take the fight to Motivate.Trust and once again go for another push. Blink in. BKB from Bob just being used. The arrow follow-up is not going to land because of that BKB. The first life of the Wraith King is popped, but on the back lines, they've got the Bane, and they're going for the Weaver next. Carlo gets the time lapse off just in time. The Ravage, it's going to catch 3, and oh, Ember, he tried to remnant away, but he got clipped by the edge of the tentacles. Exorcism gets deleted because of the dead Death Prophet, and now the chase is on. Nice Wraithfire stun into an arrow, but the grip is there, and that means Wraith King going to be forced to buy back. Lina surviving through it all for now. They don't have the damage to finish him off. Night Stalker's still chasing, but he dies before he can kill the Lina. Bob goes down. Q gets gushed to death as well. And to the high ground, Execration go. They use multiple buybacks. They may even have to use more with Night Stalker dead for 40. They're going to take the full lane of Rax up top and now swing their way to the mid lane. Great team fight going the way of Execration.
They managed to get the position right that time around. Punish Gotcha Boy for trying to dive in deep with that Ags. They hold off on high ground though. They pay some respect to Motivate.Trust. They know that without the Ravage, without that grip, the fight becomes a lot harder. Instead, they'll turn their eyes onto Roche. So straight into the pit. They've got the damage once more with a Gush and Nando's right clicks. Butterfly's up and running as well on our Luna, so it won't take too long to clear this out. Free Ag Shard that could come in for Nando. Smoke out for Motivate.Trust. They know something's happening. They got the scan, but it goes too fast for him.
Yeah. Too much minus armor and just too much physical damage, so they're smoked up, but I think they're going to find themselves having to go back to just defending the high ground. Even with the smoke, they don't want to fight outside of their base. It's hard enough defending high ground against the 2 lives of actually Bob. Hey, Lina taking it. They prioritize and giving him the Aegis just because he's often been that prime target for Motivate.Trust to go on. But at the same time, Nando's going to be pretty careful. Went for the butterfly after the Scotty, so still no BKB that he's playing with. TP out from Jackie. Just in time.
They're still trying to split push here on the side of Motivate.Trust. Still trying to get that build-up they need to really fight up against Execration. Execration with a 16k lead. Factoring out the Mirana's differential there. Factoring out the difference with the Bane. That's still a 10k lead overall. So they're doing really good on Execration. Slow and steady, not taking too many massive risks despite the 4v5. It's Dota. You know, anything can happen if you misplay your hand. Motivate.Trust might be able to find the angle, so they're showing respect here. They're waiting for cooldowns to be back up. They're getting that farm they want. They're building towards that BKB. You mentioned Nando lacking. It's almost up there, Parker. Just 2 parts away. And considering how big the map is for Execration, that doesn't take too much time to build up to as well. So, with Ravage back up, with the Aegis running on Bob, they feel confident enough to just go for a siege once more. Slowly poking at that bot tier 3. Motivate.Trust. The response has to be on point. Gotcha Boy has to be so cautious with this jump.
Oh, he takes the arrow. Kamizu! We've been maybe questioning his play at times, but what a sick move to keep Bob alive. Even though he's got the 2 lives, it saves the Aegis, preserves it for later. They've lost the backline Bane, though, but Nightstalk has to pay for this with his life, and with the lockdown on the Death Prophet, Bob has finished off a 2nd kill, so they hold onto the Aegis. They satanic healing up Bob, and they're going for this 2nd lane of Rax. Gotcha Boy is in on the Ember, but he needs to find a way out. He hasn't got the damage. He's got to buy back the play around, but they've taken a 2nd full lane of Rax, and for Motivate.Trust, they're in a 3 versus 4 situation, buying back the Ember. This is do or die. They've got no buybacks on any of their heroes now. If they go down Mega Creeps, you've got to imagine this game is all but over. It's already almost a near impossible task to ask them to defend this one, but they're going to give it one last go. We'll see if this Mirana can maybe land an arrow on a key target. Bob sidesteps this one. He's still got the Aegis, so not really the best hero to go on. Nando on the front lines just bouncing around his attacks on the tier 4 towers, onto the buildings, onto the throne in a second. They find the Wraith King. Jackie's got reincarnation just in time. Oh boy, with that close not coming off. But the problem is he hasn't got anything to do in his 2nd life. He goes down dead for 100 seconds. And on the back lines, they've caught Fearless. He goes down and it's GG. Motivate.Trust will be going down to Division 2 and Execration. They keep their slot. Heartbreaking end for Motivate.Trust. Unfortunate that it had to happen 4 versus 5. But Execration, a really well-played game. They were ahead before the disconnect happened, and they continued to ride that momentum to get themselves the victory.
Yeah, they managed to play that really well. They come out with a really strong draft. I think they got the lane matchups they wanted. Panel talked about that Luna last pick, the Luna last pick, working against the Night Stalker pick. They just managed to make it work. So props to Execration. Unfortunate for Motivate.Trust. They were there at Div 2 before. You know, Div first season of the DPC, Motivate.Trust was split up. They came into the 2nd season. They reformed. They climbed their way back to Div 1. They've got to go through Div 2 again. They've done it before. I think they're a team that can try to pull it off again. But Div 2 is looking really spicy still, even with the teams left. So we'll see if they've got what it takes. And Execration, with them staying around, hopefully we see that steady improvement from them as well in the next tour.
Yep. Well, congratulations to Execration. They keep, their run alive in Division 1. We'll see what Motivate.Trust can do in Division 2. As you mentioned, it's a very kind of scary place to be, but we're going to wrap things up, go back to the panel. We've got Eastern Europe to prepare for, but we also need to wrap up the SCA tiebreakers, at least these tiebreakers, and talk about what it means, and maybe even talk to one of the Execration boys, because they've made it. They get to stick around in Division 1. So thanks, John, for joining me. It's been a pleasure to cast with you as always. And it's also going to be a pleasure to hear what our panel have to say about these games. We'll see you there.